Hello, my fellow UX designers. Welcome to Design Chat Room. Today we are gonna talk about how F1 students can land a job in the US job market right after their graduation. So it's very common, like during the final semesters, that we apply to hundreds and thousands of job applications, and every morning we wake up to those rejection mails, and it can impact us a lot, right, in terms of the confidence that's dwindling, which we tend to take forward towards the interviews. And we question our resumes, our portfolios. And we keep revamping these over and over again only to see the same results. So here I am to give you some tips on how you can land a UX design job in the US job market as an F1 student. But before we proceed, please go ahead and click the subscribe bell right there and let's get started. So I will be taking you through 4 sections today mainly. One is how can I make my resume stand out? How should my portfolio look like? How do I attract HRs and employers? And finally, what's the best next thing to do if an unemployment on EAD is nearing the end date? So let's go to the first segment. How can I make my resume stand out? So here I've provided a sample resume, and this is one of the most standard templates that applicants use to apply for jobs in the US market. It is an ATS friendly resume. ATS as an applicant tracking system. So this is a software that is used by a lot of organizations, especially bigger companies, in order to track and sort the resumes of the large number of applications that they get in. And with ATS, the ATS tends to filter out the skill set, the product title, and the keywords that they are looking for within a resume and an application. So here you can see it's pretty clear and precise. Usually as UX designers, we tend to think that we gotta make our resume a bit more creative, bring out the colors in it. But ideally you can bring all that in your portfolio, but let's keep the resume more compact and visually standard. So usually in the US job market, we have a one-pager resume, and often, especially if you have a lot of work experience coming from a previous country, you tend to have a lot of work experience and jobs which might not actually fit within one page. So it's okay if you go to an extra page. You do not have to delete all the major achievements that you've had just in order to put it into a single page. Another thing to note, especially in the US job market, is do not have your photo. Do not attach your photo to the resume. And make sure that you mention the role that you are applying for. So here you can have a UX designer as your title, or if it's a product designer position, you can put that in. Product design prototyper or creative technologist. These are generally the job roles that we tend to apply for. So you can mention those titles along with your name and contact details on the top of the resume. This will help the HRs to identify the applicant's role and match accordingly. The next important part of the resume are the skills. So you gotta mention the skills. Again, coming back to the ATS portion of it, go through generally all the job descriptions. Most of them would call out a lot of skill sets that's required. Bring all that skills, if that matches with your skill set, into your resume. You don't want the software to miss out on any skill set that is mentioned on the job description. Of course, don't forget to mention the education that you have. You have come here to the US to pursue your education in design or related media. So feel free and go ahead and mention that. GPAs are generally not required, but if it is something very much outstanding, or if you have had a scholarship or something that calls out for your excellence, you should add it to the resume. One of the main portions of a resume is the work experience. So you gotta give a good portion of your resume dedicated for the work experience portion of it. Especially for people who are starting out in their career, I understand that you might not have a lot of work experience to portray. So you can bring in the projects that you have done at school or with other peer members, and you can portray that in the work experience section under the title projects. You can also bring in teaching assistantships or research assistantships, which kind of calls out your mentorship capability or your collaborative capability into the resume. One another thing that helps you stand out, this is the area where you can show how you are separate or different from other applicants, is by showing your accomplishments, your awards and accomplishments. So mention your awards and accomplishments, be it a hackathon, be it a scholarship, be it a volunteering experience which is relevant to the job description. Bring that into the awards and accomplishments section. Now let's move to the section for portfolio. How should my portfolio look like? So there are different ways to showcase your portfolio. Portfolio essentially is your work that you have done in this field. So you could create a website, you can have Figma prototypes or a Figma file page, or you can have your Behance project works. But these days what I see are most people who apply with their website links. So it's becoming a norm, and so I would definitely encourage you to create a website. You can create a website on WordPress or Wix or GoDaddy. So there are different website places where you can create your portfolio website. State the role that you're applying for. You can have around 4 to 5 projects, or if you have multiple sections where you have worked as a UX designer and as a creative technologist, you can put that into 2 different buckets in your website and bring them in. Another part of the portfolio is not just to show the images of your projects, but rather have them listed in the content of portfolio, and you got to provide a link to the case study as well. The case study is essentially the place where you show the process of the design. For example, you started with the problem definition, the goals, then you go to the users, what are the research that you've done, persona creation, storyboarding, and wireframes, information architecture, and then you can go through the UI designs of it. But make sure to keep this more concise. You don't have to write paragraphs about it. You can have images in these sections. And sometimes you might not even have all these sections, and that's okay. Whatever process you have adhered to during the design process, just bring that in so that the HRs and the hiring managers can see your critical thinking and design capability reflected on the portfolio. Another portion of the portfolio that you can add where brings in your personal flavor is the About Me section. Here you can talk about you, your interests, your hobbies. Although this is not gonna be very relevant, it can set you apart from the other applicants, especially when there is a large pool of people with the same skill set. And another section that current applicants tend to include is the resume. But keep in mind, although your resume keeps changing over the years, you want to ensure that this is in par with the resume that you have in the website. Going to the next session, how do I attract HRs and employers? So HRs are the people who are going to look into the different skill sets, and the main role is to ensure that your application and the skill set and your experience matches with the job description that they're looking for. And HRs come from different background, and it needn't be from a design background. And so it's important for you to call out things that the HR can show to the hiring manager. So don't undersell your work. This is where you get to show all your skill set, especially when it comes to the resume or when your portfolio. Just call out the different skills that you have used in each of the portfolio sections or each of the projects. And another part you want to ensure when it comes to being noticed is to keep your LinkedIn account active. In the US, LinkedIn is a very good source for networking. And you can utilize this platform to showcase your projects, write articles, thereby showing the passion to your work. And especially when it comes to smaller companies and startups, they might notice your work and might even reach out to you. Another method to get noticed is obviously referrals. We have all been told that. And it's not easy to get referrals, especially when you reach out to someone you don't know. There is no obligation on their end to respond to you or provide you referral. Referrals are essentially for people whom you know personally or have met before, so that they can vouch for your skill set. But don't worry about it. We are all coming from different parts of the world. It's very difficult to network in 2 years of time. And so just as I said, just put your works out there, connect with people, go to networking events, and reach out to people on LinkedIn. There are a lot of people who might respond to you, ask about their job, connect with them. You can also use ADP List, which is a great source for connecting with people who are already in the industry. And you can reach out to them, showcase your portfolio work, and ask for a referral. So yeah, don't get intimidated and don't pull yourself back. Go ahead and ask for that referral. Now let's talk about what's the next best thing to do if my unemployment on EAD is ending or nearing the ending date. This is a very scary situation for us. We have about 90 days of unemployment allowed on our EAD card. And after that, if we don't get a job by then, we have to leave the country. So all the effort of the studies and everything, you gotta take it back to the country, and you are not given a chance to practice that in the US. So there are a couple of things that you can do, especially since the application process and the interview process for bigger companies can be tedious and time-taking, which often goes to up to 3 months. You can always apply for startups. You can look into smaller companies, and they are in dire need of a person to fill that position. So look into companies who would wanna hire a UX designer, reach out to them personally, talk to them, and that might be an easier route compared to applying to bigger companies. Another option that you can always keep in the back pocket would be to apply to the university labs and offices. You could find contract positions for UX design, web design, or even research assistantships within human-computer interactions or interaction design, and apply for those positions directly. If you know a professor, reach out to them. Reach out to all the people you know that might be able to provide a job within the university. This is the best process because you have already been in the university and have made connections over there. And generally, the staff at universities understand the situations of students who are coming from abroad. So don't fear, just go ahead and ask for the job. And as Steve Jobs said, just ask. Most people fail to go forward because they keep fearing about asking for help, or asking for a connection, or asking to take the next step. So just ask, just reach out to people. It's okay if they don't respond, but keep asking. It's okay if you don't get an answer, but what if you do get an answer? So there's nothing you gotta lose by asking. So just go ahead, keep that applications going. You got this, and see you in my next video.